I'd love to introduce to you our host for today. Joining us today, we have Janet Dierks. Janet is a registered architect and director of professional content at BSD SpecLink. Janet has served as a specification writer and consultant for major architectural firms and has been a member of CSI for over 25 years, serving as chapter president and certification chair. Also joining us today is Galen Ritchie. Galen is a strategic account manager at BSD SpecLink and is based in Portland, Maine. Galen has a passion for the AEC industry, which started while working at eSpecs, which was purchased by Arcom before moving to Master Spec, and now finally here with us at BSD SpecLink. Galen loves spending time with his wife and his 2 children. And now for the webinar, I'll turn things over to Galen. Galen?
Great, thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Just wanted to quickly go over the agenda today. Wanted to quickly review BSD, so Building Systems Design, our organization, where we've come from and where we're going. At that point, I'll hand it over to Janet to discuss the importance of specifications and how BSD helps, and then we'll jump right into a collaboration demo of the software itself and open it up through Q&A throughout the process. So just a quick company history. We've been around since the early 80s, providing the AECO community with interoperability solutions to streamline not only the specification writing process, but also cost estimation. A lot of that is made possible through our various partnerships, so most notably with CSI, but we also do have a partnership with CSC, as well as the Royal Architecture Institute of Canada, really being able to pull in various sources of information, specification content into our software to drive more efficiency and collaboration in an intelligent database. But we also partner with the 20,000 plus design professionals worldwide that have been relying on our software to create more efficiency in spec writing. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Janet to discuss the importance of specifications.
Good afternoon. Some of this will be old hat to you. We're going to talk about the importance of specifications, and we know that specifications save lives every day. They are documentation to support the drawings, but of course we know that they are complementary to drawings. They hold equal weight as construction and contract documents. Specifications, of course, are addressing quality of materials and workmanship, and the drawings are addressing primarily quantity and location. By having a good set of documents, we are addressing risk management, not only for the design professional and the design team, but also for the owner and the contractor. Good communication is a core of risk management. In both the drawings and the specifications, we are noting, the design team is noting, that there is compliance with the applicable codes and laws that are required by the AHJs, the authorities having jurisdiction. An important part of specifications is, for instance, that the submittals are delineated and noted for what the contractor, subcontractor will have to provide for design validation, samples, shop drawings, etc. We also list certifications. We also include delegated design in part 1. So we expand upon the requirements of both the contract, the owner-contractor agreement, as well as Division 1 general requirements. In part 2, we list the products that have been selected for construction. These may be listed by basis of design, by sole source. There may be a requirement that a minimum of 3 BPMs or products be listed so that there is competitive bidding or pricing, particularly in public projects. And of course, in part 3, we talk about the installation of the products, materials, systems, or assemblies separate from the fabrication and any testing and so on that is required. So we are very, very much involved in the quality that is required to address the final construction. And what can go awry when specifications may not be correct. I hate to say are not correct, may not be correct. If there are conflicts between the drawings and the specifications, that coordination can impede the risk management and the communication among the parties and stakeholders in a construction project. There may be RFIs to clarify information. There may be change orders that change the time or the cost of a project. As we talk about specifications now, we are talking more about people who write specifications rather than dedicated specification writers. And in that, we know that it is any help at all that we can give to the people who write specifications and specification writers will improve the communication, lessen the conflicts between drawings and specifications, and manage the risk for the design team, the construction team, and the owner team. Shall we move on? So how can BSD help? First of all, BSD helps because we have provided automation. We are committed to standardizing construction project information through the specifications. By creating a SQL database, we are providing a lot of benefit to the people who write specifications, the specification writers. First of all, we continually and automatically update specification content. This includes reference standards, for instance, as well as managing BPMs, building product manufacturers and products, tracking whether or not they are still available, managing performance criteria, working with industry and trade associations, as well as professional organizations. In BSD, in SpecLink, we can leverage global terms. So because we are in a database, for instance, if your owner is always called ABC Medical Management, we can change that once and it changes everything. If the AE is always called Design Professional, we can change that once, and it will change it consistently throughout all the specification sections that are in SpecLink in the catalog that is being worked in. Every section has up-to-date specific master nodes that assist the spec writer in understanding the information that is there and how to best select the text that they need to create the specification section. In addition, there is an area for project notes so that those writing the specifications can add notes pertinent to a specific project or specific owner requirement that holds that as a permanent record. It's also easy to maintain multiple office masters. When we think of multiple office masters, quite often we think of those that are project driven. For instance, if a firm wants to set up a project master for all their hotel projects or for a specific hotel owner, client, they can do that and embed the specific requirements of that owner or of that project type. Then create a separate master for perhaps office buildings that has some other requirements. And it makes it cleaner and easier and faster to write specifications for a project. How easy is it to use? It's amazingly easy to use. We have embedded a collaborative functionality in SpecLink that allows entire teams to work simultaneously within projects. For instance, if the design team, the AE, has a license, a subscription to SpecLink, and is writing a particular project, they can include and allow access to their consultants to specific sections, or to a specific section or specific sections to collaborate for that content. By granting permission, the owner then can determine what the roles are of those that have access. Can they view only? Can they actually edit? Can they comment? And this is even with contributors that do not also have a SpecLink license. Owners can be allowed access as well. A very collaborative environment. SpecLink has also addressed the Bim and Spec Integration, which enables collaboration between those doing the drawings as well as those doing the specifications. What's important to us? A primary driver is customer happiness. We're nothing if our customers are not happy and satisfied with the performance of SpecLink. For that, we provide training and support for a subscriber's firm's success. All of our support and training is conducted by BSD staff. We also have live end user support, which is available via phone and email Monday through Friday. Live training is available for subscribers every week, not just occasionally, and there needs to be no travel to participate in the training. So live training is available online in 2 sessions, 1-hour basic sessions and 3-hour advanced sessions every week by very knowledgeable support and training staff from BSD. Subscribers also have access to a customer knowledge base for quick and easy answers. We've had a lot of questions that turn up again and again, that a lot of them have to do with the level of training and the level of experience that a subscriber has. So sometimes it's easier to go to a customer knowledge base and have a detailed explanation that particularly addresses the issue that the person might have and may allow them not to have to go to the live user support, although that is very, very important to us, that we can have people available to help our subscribers. Galen?
Great, thanks, Janet.
You're
So
welcome.
we have, for over the last 30 years, been able to document proven results from our specification writing software. Initially, SpecLink was offered as a server-based solution, which firms installed at their office and multiple workstations to then sign in. And about 3 years ago, we launched SpecLink Cloud, which is our cloud-based application. We'll be looking at that today. So we have over 3 decades of proven results at firms all across the spectrum, small, medium, large, even enterprise level. At the end of the day, individuals are able to edit specifications faster, reduce RFIs and change orders, but more importantly, provide more coordinated and accurate specification content. That's done because we're working within an intelligent database that leverages certain initiatives to drive more efficiency, as well as certain efficiency tools that we've built into the software specific for specification writing that you will not find in a word processing program. The immediate ROI can be seen from individuals with a most entry-level base of information on SpecLink. Even without training, without attending one of our live weekly training webinars, individuals can jump right into SpecLink and start seeing an immediate 20% time saving on writing specifications. But as you become more familiar with the software, you just see more and more efficiency as you become familiar. Things like developing office masters or utilizing global formats, importing sections from Word documents and building intelligence around those, managing reference standards and seeing updates from our content team right to your content, which you can then accept or deny, ensures that you're keeping your specifications up to date without having to spend a lot of extra time doing research. But then we look at the power users, those individuals that have been using our software for 10, 15, even longer years. And those individuals see even more time saving with Revit integration, team collaboration, mode management, and defined user roles. All of this is geared around saving time at the firm level, writing specifications and eliminating or greatly reducing the redundant tasks that are performed day in and day out with things like formatting, changing over information, or managing headers and footers. This is all done very quickly and easily within SpecLink. So let's jump right into SpecLink Cloud. Again, this is a cloud-based software, so all you need is a web browser to be able to sign in. Once you log in here, it brings up what's called the dashboard. Here we go. This dashboard is just a quick snapshot of all of our active projects that we currently have today. So here we can see we're on the dashboard page. To the right of that, we have the people page where you can manage individual users and their permission levels if you'd like to gain certain access for individuals or restrict certain actions within the software for individuals, really keeping everyone within their lane. In the dashboard page, we can see that we have projects here. This is the projects tab that we're looking at. On the left-hand side, we can create a new project. Down here, we can see all of our active projects that we currently have. We see deleted projects, which we could go in and restore if we wanted to, as well as archive projects as well. We can search for project files simply by typing in the identifying information to quickly sort out all of the projects that you're looking to access. And then we can restrict certain project level access as well. So for example, today's demo 1234 is set as private. What a private project means is that at the firm level, individuals can sign into the software if they have a SpecLink cloud license. They can see the project exists, but they cannot actually access that project until they're invited in as a collaborator. The least restrictive level of access is a public level. That means that anyone at your firm, so this is internal only, with a license to SpecLink Cloud can sign in. They can see the project exists. They can click into the project and see all of the sections that are in there. And if their user permission role gave them access, they can go in and start editing that project. Now, the most restrictive and typically reserved for very strict NDAs or classified projects would be a hidden project, which we can see down here at the Atlantic Public School project. So this is just a demo project that I've created, but a hidden project means that individuals with a SpecLink Cloud license at your firm can sign in, but they can't even see that this project exists. There's no mention of it within the dashboard itself, unless, of course, they're invited in as a collaborator on the project. We'll come back to the project tab in just a second here. I want to take a step over to the right here for the Office Master tab. Now, Office Masters are managed just like projects, but the difference is, as the name implies, they are your masters or your templates, a starting point. Now, most of the time when I speak with design firms, they have one or two key stakeholders that know how to manage their firm's Office Master. So those individuals will be creating and updating their masters for other project managers, project engineers, anyone else within the design process to be able to copy and create a project out of. These become your single source of truth in one centralized database for everyone to access. This means that we're not swapping and sharing Word documents or PDFs or trying to sign into servers that are located in different offices where you have to VPN in. Again, with our secure solution, you're able to just sign in, access the content you need, and rest assured that it's the most up-to-date content. One more over to the right is the shared with me. This is great when you have individuals that will be sharing projects outside of the firm, or building owners that may be sharing their projects with you. They can, as building owners do, manage some of their own content. We work with a lot of very large building owners that manage their own content and then share those sections out with design firms that are utilizing SpecLink, further enhancing collaboration. One more to the right is the Bim Library. So this is where you can upload your Revit models and then attach those Revit models to projects, thus building more intelligence and integration into the design process. I'm going to jump back to the Projects tab here. I'll walk you through what it takes to actually create an active project, because whether we're creating a project or an Office Master, the workflows are identical. So when I click Create New Project, it's going to ask me a couple of questions about the project itself. First, what am I creating? Well, if I have the permission to do so, I can create an office master, but today we're going to create an active project. It's going to ask me, where do I want to start from? Where do I want to pull most of my information from? We have three options here. We can start with the BSD master content. So this would be starting with our out-of-the-box content. You can copy from an existing office master, and you can see all of the office masters listed here that are available for you to copy from. You can copy from an existing project if you'd like to as well. Today, I'm going to start with the out-of-the-box master content that we've developed to show you what it takes to start a project from scratch or starting an office master from scratch. One thing to keep in mind, it does not limit you to just that source of information. What it means is that we're able to pull information from other sources as well. Right now, I am defining this project. I'm giving it a project title. We're going to state where it's located. Sarah mentioned I actually live and work out of Portland, Maine. So I'm going to use Portland as an example here. This is great for being able to pull in information in the global terms that Janet discussed earlier. Global terms are a great way of being able to utilize one bit of information that might be indicated multiple times throughout the project itself. For example, the name of the project, the client's name, contractors' names, maybe specific dates. This is setting up the preliminary information to use in global terms later on down the road. Now, when I create this project, it opens up what's called the division tree. So now we can see within our navigation pane here, I went from the dashboard into projects, and this is the project that I'm in right now. Down here, we can see the sections, any BIM files that are attached, and then any summary information. So some of the preliminary information that I set up before, plus ways of being able to change some of the other information that you may want, such as section ID formats, date and time formats, locations. I'm going to go back to the sections themselves because I want to show you what it takes to actually build out a project or office master from scratch. So I mentioned I'm starting from the BSD master content, the out-of-the-box content. We can see within our division tree, if we start jumping through various sections that are in here, we can further break down and start checking off different sections that may be pertinent for this project. Simply by using the checkbox here, we can add these sections into the project. Now with our intelligent linking that's in here, whenever we include a section into this project or office master, it's automatically built out within the table of contents for your project or master. But in addition, if there are any related requirements that cross-reference either of these sections or any section that I'm pulling in, it's going to automatically include those as well, ensuring consistency. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not limited to just this single source of information. So although I started with the BSD master content, I can always pull in sections from other areas. I can import from a project or from an office master. So if I want to pull a section from a previous project, maybe I know that this library project I was working on before would be great for this project I'm working on now. I can jump into that project and start scrolling through and find the section that's important to me. I'll just pull in glazing here and I'll import that section in and we'll import that section. So I now just pulled in that glazing section from a previous project. We can do the same thing from office masters as well. So if the office master is listed as a public office master, which means that anyone within your design firm can have access to it, they can go in and see what the office master is, how many sections are available in there, and again, jump through and find the section that's important to them, or multiple sections as well. Import those sections in too. We can also import from Word documents as well. So importing from a Word document is very easy. You just click that import from Word. Our software will strip all of the formatting out of that Word document and apply the format that's been set for these projects or office masters. And it will also apply the headers and footers to the project, to the section from the project. And we'll also add that section to the table of contents and any related requirements. We can also create from a template. This is a step-by-step wizard to be able to walk you through creating your own section from scratch. Now I'm going to jump into a section to start editing this section because I want to show you what it looks like to be able to edit a section from scratch here. So I showed you how to click in and import sections or pull them in. But if we click the title of the section itself, it actually goes into a familiar word processing environment. Now, just like a word processing environment, you can put your cursor anywhere you want, you can enter in a new line, you can type in new text. Whatever you'd like to do within this word processing environment is entirely up to you. It's very flexible and functional. The biggest difference in editing here is that unlike a Word document, we are editing by inclusion. So when you're working within a Word document, you're deleting out the content that you don't need for that project, removing it out of that document itself. If you have to go back and reference that original source of information, likely you're going to a previous file and doing a side-by-side comparison. Within SpecLink, editing by inclusion means that we're activating the different parts and articles and paragraphs that are relevant for the project itself. Simply by clicking the sequence line number or paragraph number, I've activated this section, hollow metal doors and frames. The text has gone from gray to black and is now part of this section. Regardless of where you start, such as starting down in part 2, if we start activating different articles of these sections, we're now including this content into our final document here. You can see the text has gone from gray to black, and it's assigned the appropriate alphanumerics that are associated with the different paragraphs here. All of these paragraphs are based on what are called leveling, which is basically a hierarchy of indentations. As I mentioned before, we can add a line just by putting our cursor in and hitting enter, but we can also modify lines as well. With our revision history that's automatically on within every project in Office Master, we can see any changes that have occurred. So under the O column here, this is considered the origin column. If I hit enter and start typing in a new line, we see two different identifiers here. The M with an asterisk means that we have master content that's modified. So I started with the BSD out-of-the-box master content, but maybe that also refers to your Office Masters as well. If we had copied from an Office Master and then modified any of this content in our project from that master that we copied, it will show us the original Office Master content, and then the asterisk here is noting that we've modified this. And if we toggle this button on and off, we can now see those adjustments. We can see the modified content, and then we can see the original master content as well. And down here, the U shows that it's user created content. This is great when we're going through just doing a quick review of what's been added, what's been changed, but we're never deleting out content. So if at some point the project changes and we actually do need sound rated hollow metal doors and frames, no problem, we can activate those as well. Now, if we want to be able to see all of the content that's going to be published, everything that's going to be part of our deliverable, we want to get rid of all of this gray out text here. We simply hit a toggle drop down here. Right now we're in normal view. Normal view shows us all of the content, the gray text that's kind of sitting in the background waiting for us to select, or the active view, which will show us everything that's included and going to be printed. I toggled over to active view here. And now you can see in part 2, manufacturers, all of the selections that I've made. But in addition, down here, we have intelligent linking out of our content that will also include performance requirements as well. Hollow metal doors, hollow metal frames. This linking really saves a lot of time. It's a one-to-many click ratio, if you will. So if I go back into normal view here, and I start turning on portions in part 1, maybe I need reference standards, abbreviations and acronyms, related requirements. As I'm going through and making my selections, these will now be incorporated into the project itself. Again, I can modify this content, I can fill in open brackets, but at the end of the day, these selections are driving the deliverable itself. I'm going to switch back to active view here to show you all of the content that's included here, because I want to show you another nice feature. Some firms have to produce or provide outline versions of their specifications. When you're working within Word documents, those are typically a separate document. And producing outline specifications when you originally started in a full-length version means that you're duplicating your efforts, and you'll eventually be throwing out that outline specification file because it cannot be expanded into a full-length version. Within SpecLink, because you're working within a database, we can actually toggle this information all around as well. So I'm looking at the full-length version. Maybe we need to look at just the outline view here. Just going to switch over to the outline. And here we can see, although I have not made many selections within this section, a really abbreviated outline version as well. We can toggle over to normal view and actually start off in an outline version if we wanted to. This is really helpful early on in the design process if you do need to produce an outline version of your specifications. It doesn't mean any work that you've accomplished is going to be lost. Any changes that we make in any of these versions, the outline, short form, or full-length version, automatically transfer to all of the other versions as well. Being able to change formats as well is really important. So instead of having to go through line by line, I'll switch over to active view to show you what I mean here. We're now in the full-length version. If we utilize what's called the format template, that's listed right up in the middle top part of the screen here. This format template is a way of changing the look and feel, the formatting, the font, the point size, indentation, line spacing, anything that you would want to format within your documents. Really easy to do by utilizing some of the templates here. So right now we're in the CSI format, but maybe we need to change over to the CSC format here. Very easy to do. You can see the alphanumerics, the designations have changed. Indentations have also changed. The font, the spacing has also changed. And I'd like to highlight this using my kind of crazy format, which now brings us into a very visible title of the section itself. And of course, basically italics where they probably shouldn't be italics, and other kind of what I like to see as obnoxious indentations, and then of course parentheses around. So you can really, within the sky's the limit here, be able to make any adjustments and adapt these format templates. These are all custom created format templates that I've applied and created within my software itself. Where many firms see value in this is the ability to create client preference formats or building type preference formats or even department related formats as well, because we can apply these format templates to every section within the project, regardless of whether you have 5 sections or 500 sections within your project manual. Very easy with the drop-down button here to be able to apply these formats specifically to your projects. We also have the ability to manage and edit track changes as well. As I mentioned earlier, we have full revision histories with date and user stamps that are built in here, but the same is true for track changes. So I've just turned on track changes. And if I'm sending this off to another colleague to review, I can actually lock on the track changes, ensuring that any adjustments that my colleagues or client have been making are within track changes themselves and not the standard formats. So if we go into track changes and I delete this line, then maybe add in new information, we again can see that it is date and user stamped as well by me. And then we can decide whether we want to approve or deny any of those changes. So I mentioned some of the intelligence that's built in here too. So let me get out of track changes. I'm going to turn that off here. I'm going to accept that change. Some of the intelligence that's built into the software are linked paragraphs and sections. So I have activated various paragraphs within this section here, and you can see that by the sequence line number boxes are blue with a white text in the middle. The ones I have not activated are still kind of a gray box with black text in the middle, such as these reference standards. I did not actually activate these paragraphs, and the reason is because I've activated other paragraphs in part 2 that mention these reference standards, and SpecLink knows that when these reference standards are mentioned in part 2, that should be included in the part 1 reference standards here. So it's automatically applied these reference standards here for us. Now, we'll never tell you that you have to include this information. This is just a nice feature to be able to have. So for some reason you do not want to have that in there, you can actually line by line exclude and ignore the links, or decide otherwise how to manage some of the activation that's in there. There's various ways of creating more automation or removing some of the automation as well. The software is completely customizable. Some of the other intelligence that's built in here are these intelligently linked reference standards. So if I click on this reference standard here, it brings us out to the IHS Market Standards store to give us a little bit of the information that's available for this ANSI reference standard. Then we can see some of the publicly available information as well. Kind of limited on this one. Where I see some more information, frankly, is with some of the ASTM standards, where they'll be a little bit more detailed. I'll just grab this ASTM A480 here. We'll scroll down. We can now see some publicly available information as well. So again, this greatly reduces the amount of research that an individual would have to do on further information about about these reference standards or any part of the specifications themselves. In addition, our content team keeps this information up to date for you. We update specification sections in 3 key areas: reference standards, manufacturers, which also includes products, and of course, core master language too. So you can rest assured that these reference standards are the most up-to-date, and you can cross-reference them simply by clicking on that link and bringing you to the source of information. You know, I clicked that ASTM A480. 2020 is the most up-to-date version. Really easy way of keeping your reference standards up to date, but also allowing individuals who may not be as familiar with managing specifications to get the information they need. Other ways of being able to do this, if we scroll down further, we can see on the end column here some of our notes. Many Word document specifications contain the notes embedded into the document itself. They're usually non-printable text that'll give you a snapshot of information, a couple of paragraphs like you can see here that are non-printable, as I mentioned, different color, usually outlined in a box, but it can be confusing because it's right in the middle of the body of the document. We segment out notes onto the left-hand column here. Now you can always produce non-printable text directly within the content itself here if you want to continue that process. But the real advantage of having notes on the left-hand side is you can build out very detailed notes. These are master notes. Now, these master notes are coming from our content. If you develop master notes within your Office Master, those are your master notes. If you start with our content, it'll automatically include this in here. If we import in content, we can actually determine what your notes are, extract them out, and put them into the notes column on the left-hand side here. I just wanted to use this as an example because we can now jump into various points of information about this product itself. So if we wanted to go to Mesker's website, specifically to this FDJ series drywall frame, we've now linked directly out to that product itself, the source of information, to be able to get more detailed information on these products. I'm using this just as an example as to how detailed these notes can be, more so than just a body of text embedded into the body of the document. I mentioned you can create your own master notes at the Office Master level, but you can also create your own project notes too. Real easy to do. We can just give it a new project title page, a project note title, and then maybe we'll just list a few things out here. I'm not very creative, so I just hit random buttons on my keyboard for the sake of time. We can add in images, we can hyperlink, just like we saw with that manufacturer product note there. We can make those very detailed notes. And then we simply drag over the sequence line number into the tag here to be able to identify where does this note reside. Well, here we are, we have a blue note. That's our project note. Orange notes are master notes. These follow the section with you. So if you copy this section into another project, or maybe you pull this section into an office master because you really like the section that you developed within the project and you want to be able to use that in masters, no problem. Just copy it in like I showed you earlier, and you'll be able to have that as part of your master, and it will pull those notes over for you. On the right-hand side here, another really powerful collaboration tool. We have the ability to leave comments back and forth, again, internal comments. So we're leaving kind of this running dialogue, if you will, where multiple individuals can provide as much information as they'd like. Maybe it's, please review this paragraph. Why are we pulling in this product? Is there a conflict with other products that are out there? Do we want to review this with the client first? Or maybe you share these sections with your client in a view and comment only capacity. Therefore, they're not editing the specifications, but they're just able to review and then leave their own comments. Again, those are date and user stamped, so you know exactly who left that comment, when, and where. We can go through and review those comments one by one and then resolve them as needed. We also have the ability to manage headers and footers on a global level as well. Within here, we're managing these headers and footers for the entire project or just applying the header and footer to this section. We have a variety of other options as well to ensure consistency and quality throughout your project manual or office master. But at the end of the day, this works just like a standard word processing header and footer. The difference is we also have very powerful specification editing features that are built in here. So maybe we want to put the client's name right in the middle of the header. And maybe we want to put the bid date in here as well. These global terms, which I'll discuss in just a second, will be able to empower you to be able to change this information in one location, even though this instance of the global term is listed many times over. I'll show you what some of these global terms look like. Let's just open up what's called the document manager on the right-hand side. Maybe we have the bid date listed multiple times, or even the construction cost, whatever you'd like to have. You can also determine user-created global terms, so you can create as many as you'd like, as well as some of the ones that we've developed here at SpecLink. So we've got the bid date in here a couple of times, plus in our header. If we change this bid date in one location, every instance of this global term will automatically be updated. Same is true with the client's name as well. We have this listed a couple of spots here. We'll go through and make that change, and it'll be updated everywhere. Very powerful for being able to ensure consistency and quality throughout your entire project manual. Well, last but not least, I mean, we have a lot of other efficiency tools that are built in here that kind of step more into the advanced level, but we also have what are called choice fields, and I'll show you when I jump over to active view here. Choice fields are a way of being able to select information that have been determined within certain parameters. So in this instance, we're looking at a particular manufacturer, but let's just say the facing of the door metal thickness here. We have various gauges that are listed here. We can make these changes quickly and easily by selecting these choices. So if you know the parameters that they fit within, you can make those choices. We have different choice fields. This one's an exclusive choice, meaning that if I just select the 20 gauge, that it will exclude all other choices. But we have the ability to manage inclusive choices as well, which would be, let's just say, example of colors. We need red and blue and green and yellow. That multiple choice selection box will allow you to easily go through and select many choices and include them in there. Maybe you want it to be red or blue or green or yellow. We can determine all of that information simply by editing the choice field itself. And we can create our own, just like we do with reference standards, as well as global terms. Really, everything here is completely modifiable to your needs. Now, everyone wants to know what's the output on this look like, clearly, because you have to produce a deliverable. Well, the one thing we take very serious pride in is the ability to do what's called what you see is what you get. Everything that you see here on the screen will be exported as a Word document and or a PDF document, exactly what you see on the screen. So what you see on the screen is what you're going to get in your output. We can export as a PDF. We can export as a Word document. We can determine how that export's going to look. Do we want to export the entire project as one single file to a PDF, or do we want every section to be their own file? A lot of other parameters here as well for being able to mark up track changes and review that and print those off. Maybe we want to issue just certain sections within particular divisions or the section itself. Again, what you see is what you, whoop, I clicked that a little too fast. What you see is what you get within these documents. So if we switch over here, we can now see our headers and footers, the client name on the global term that I changed, plus the bid date that's in here. Again, here's the output. Now we do, I'd like to open it up for questions. Sarah, do we have any questions that have come through? Because I'm going to jump over to an Office Master to show you what it looks like to update that content. But in the meantime, if there are any questions, maybe we can take those.
Thanks, Galen. We had some questions that came in. A lot of questions came in around the updating process and how that impacts your masters that you have. Are those automatically pushed to those masters? Can you do those manually? If you can walk us through just what that looks like.
Great, perfect. So right here, we're back at the dashboard. So I jumped out of that project. I'm in my dashboard page. Here was a project I created. Now, regardless of whether we're in a project that we're updating, so we can see the last modified on some of these projects. So maybe there was a project that was put on hold and then I needed to go back to it. Or maybe we want to update a master as well. So I'm going to go into my Office Master tab here. I'm going to click on K through 12 School Office Master. And hopefully I can find a good section that needs updating here as well. We'll go into hollow metal doors and frames, the one we were just in. And when I jump into that section itself, what it does is it pops up available updates. So I mentioned our team of spec writers here, led by Janet, are constantly providing updates to content. Now, we're not going to send every update out to you the minute that it comes out. We could discuss those updates and how those updates go out a little bit later if that's something you're interested in discussing. But ultimately, when updates are sent out, they're sent out in a way that you can determine how you want to update this content. Again, we're updating in 3 key areas: master text, reference standards, and manufacturers. Now we can isolate down to just these areas and make those choices and deny other choices if we wanted to as well. But if we make a selection on the full list here, right here is our Office Master. Right here are the updates. Let's click on an update. We click on an update and it brings us to the area where that update is located. We can see it's a paragraph added, this ASTM standard. If I want to accept that paragraph, I can easily click Accept Paragraph, and it'll pull that update into this Office Master for me. Maybe I want to see some of the updates as well. In this instance, it looks like it's a modified paragraph. So the modifications are minimal in this one. It's really just going to a slight change here in millimeters from 50 millimeters to 51 millimeters in size. If I want to update that, sure, I can easily update that. Updates are either new paragraphs, modified paragraphs, or removed paragraphs, for example. So in this one, we have hurricane resistant, tornado resistant hollow metal doors and frames. Slightly different wording here using slightly different information. We can accept or deny those updates if we wanted to. We can go into just manufacturers, or again, just reference standards. In this instance here, we now have an existing reference standard that went from 2019A reference edition to 2020. Very easy to be able to update that. Click accept. Now, whether we're editing and updating on an Office Master level, which we did here, or on a per project level, the workflows are identical. All right, so what other questions are popping up here for us, Sarah?
Thanks, Galen. You showed us a couple different masters for CSC and CSI. Could you explain just kind of the updates that we've had to those masters in the recent months?
From our content, starting from a master, and then going
the content updates. Thank you.
Okay, great. Certainly. So again, the content is updated in those three key areas: reference standards, manufacturers, as well as the core language. And we're also issuing new sections as well, which according to the various content catalogs that we offer may or may be part of that package that's included. So like I mentioned, we have a team of full-time spec writers here. Some of them are focused on just mechanical sections, like my friend Tony, for example. Great resource for being able to focus in on the sections that he's responsible for. So we can go through and do that research. That's what is here to do, is to do the research, update our content, and then send those updates out throughout every end user for them to be able to accept or deny. So we have a wide variety of different specification sections that are out there. We break everything down into discipline, architecture, MEP, civil, structural, landscape, but we also provide water, wastewater equipment and utilities in Division 46. But unlike any other organization out there, we also provide design criteria specifications as well. So using Uniformat. I don't know if any individuals out there listening in right now are using Uniformat, but that's also integrated directly into SpecLink as well. I hope that answers the question. I wanted to really kind of hone in on how the updating works. It's a very simple process of being able to go into the section and decide whether you want to incorporate or deny those updates. And then, of course, Janet and her team are the ones responsible for researching all of this and deciding the updates that are included in here or not. Now, you can always update your own content, of course. That's very important. One thing that I always like to mention is that we manage thousands of national reference standards. We provide this software mostly throughout North America, but within some global territories that would be utilizing CSI standards or also CSC, but we manage national reference standards. Firms, of course, are going to have to include their own local or municipal reference standards as well. So maybe you want to go in and develop your own reference standard. Very easy to do. If you're in an Office Master, let me jump over here so you actually have something to look at. And we go into reference standards here. You can create your own reference standard, intelligently linked just like ours, by entering in the designation, edition, reference title, and target, hyperlinking it out to the agency that manages this.
Hey, Galen, while we're on the screen, a question came in. Can you explain the red text for us?
Sure, red text, maybe in this instance here, this open bracket, is that the red text that we were looking at? We also have red boxes that pop up here if there are any conflicts that are available. And then lastly, we have red text here. This is indicating this red text is showing in the global term project completion date. Because I am in an Office Master, I've integrated in these global terms into my Office Master, and I have not defined that global term yet. So it's just a reminder, an identifier. This is really powerful if you are building out global terms in your Office Master. Leave those Office Master global terms undefined, and when an end user copies that master for a project, they're going to receive an alert right here showing that there are 4 global terms existing throughout this project manual or master that have yet to be defined, and so you have to go in and define that information.
Another question that came in, how do you determine which manufacturers are included? Galen, maybe, I don't know if you would be best to answer this one, or maybe Janet, the vetting process that our team goes through.
Certainly, I can generally speak to that, but maybe Janet would be best suited for giving the extreme details. But for us, what I always like to say is they have to be nationally recognized and have nationwide distribution, and there have to be 3 or other manufacturers that provide similar products so that we can provide general performance-based specifications for bidding. Janet, I don't know if you want to add more detail to that.
Well, actually, We do have some regional manufacturers in our specifications because of the natural division in the country. We try to make that clear for the specification writer. What we do is when we vet the manufacturers and their products, we are looking to make sure that they are truly competitive with each other, that they are that they meet the same performance standards, so that you don't just have a random list of manufacturers and products that may or may not provide the same quality of materials, systems, or assemblies. So when you see a list of manufacturers with or without products for a particular product, we have vetted them that they do have comparable performance characteristics, and that they are available and the business is still in business, for instance. Now, one thing that I don't know if we have mentioned is that we are completing our Canadian catalog in the next 2 months, so that we will have full Canadian content specifically for Canadian projects.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks, Galen. Now we are actually over time today, but wanted to take a moment to just thank you both for spending the time with us here today and sharing all this wonderful information. We had a few questions that were unanswered, but we will capture those and be sure to follow up one-on-one to make sure everything gets answered. But for now, I'd like to turn this back over to Chris.
Sarah and Janet and Galen, thank you. We appreciate all your insights. We appreciate your time. Thanks for everybody for attending. The one comment I didn't make at the beginning was that we can help you with health, safety, and welfare credits possibly for this presentation as well. If you're interested in receiving those, just send me an email. It's Chris, C-H-R-I-S, at Klein-Johnson, K-L-I-N-E.com. And we'll work on getting that back for you. So again, thank you all for attending. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.